Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back once again. Before we really start things off, I do want to apologize because normally I do try and get these interior showarounds out pretty quickly after we've done the main portion of the build itself, but unfortunately this is about my 5th time actually building this structure. Not really by choice, but because the world seems to repeatedly keep getting corrupted. Not entirely sure why, but I guess we'll go over this towards the end of the video since I'm pretty sure most of you just came for the build. So without further ado, we'll check that out right now. And for starters, like I mentioned in the last video, I did decide to place a little log out front with an axe in it. And you'll also notice there's a chair, and hopefully you can tell this is just supposed to be some of the wood carvings or just extra scraps lying around. Now throughout this build you will see a lot of blocks that are kind of dependent on the Conquest texture pack, or I guess the Conquest mod in general, but don't worry, I'll try to sort of name off a few replacement blocks that you could use instead. And in the case that I don't come up with any replacement, feel free to ask me in the comments and I will try to think of something there. Now this area I'm pretty sure you saw on the exterior tutorial, but I also decided to add in a little clothesline there. I'm pretty sure later on in the town that'll be hooked on to maybe another building or something, but for now it's just strung across on the tree right there. Also, exterior-wise, before we head on inside, you will see the chimney is on the back. I'm not entirely sure if I like the look of it just yet, but if you decide to place a chimney back here or on the house at all, I'd recommend adding some cobwebs up there to just sort of represent smoke. I think that would be a nice extra detail that I have yet to place in. And like I said, in terms of replacements, something like the clothesline here, I'd say just throw in some wooden fences or even iron bars to kind of act as a string. And then for the clothes or different types of cloth, I'd say just use some wool. I've done that same design before in different towns, and at least in my opinion, it did turn out quite well. Now for the little log that's being cut apart right here, obviously you could just do it without the axe, and I'm pretty sure people would kind of get the gist of it and know what you're trying to represent. And obviously for the chair, you could just try something like a wooden half slab. Now moving on to the interior, you'll notice I've gone with a very simple 2-room design, so there's a very open feeling to it. And I guess if you wanted to, you could even decide to move the fireplace 1 block over, and maybe that would give you, I don't know, some extra room back in the corner here to possibly throw an extra chest if you're in survival mode, or if you're going for looks and design, you could always have it be a little firewood storage. But yeah, this is the fireplace as you saw along the backside. It's got the rest of the chimney going up, so everything kind of makes sense. But in here, I did find myself having to use the lava instead of the actual flames for some reason, just because those kept seeming to burn the rest of the house down, so that may be something you want to watch out for. But anyways, above those you've got the pig here that the woodsman is possibly roasting for a late night dinner or something. And although this room didn't have that much space in it, I found myself able to throw some things back in the corner here. You'll see this wall was luckily enough pushed 1 block back, so that gave us some extra room for these cupboards here, and also the little stove. Back here you'll find we've got a little rabbit that's kind of being cut up, hence the blood above the stove, and then I guess that there might be the finished product. And there's also some pantries up top. You'll see we've got the knives, and by the way, these are just paintings. Same thing goes for the pots and pans back here. I believe the apple is a, what are they called? The flower pots. So if you want a nice replacement for that, I'd say just stick a flower pot in and maybe use one of these plants. I don't know, maybe red tulips. Not saying those are apples, but it would be a nice little decorative piece. For the rabbit, I'd have to say, you know what, there's not really a great one for that, but if you're looking for something to represent meat, or just food in general, the thing I used to use a lot was the netherrack. And if you want it to have bones in it, try and use the netherrack with the quartz ore inside, and that should be a nice replacement. And then for any wine bottles or different cups you see me use, I would just say try something like a flower pot. I'm sure the majority of people are going to understand what you're trying to portray. But also in this room we have a closet underneath the stairs, Like you saw by the fireplace, we have a big giant couch. And once again, if you want to do something like that, just use half slabs and it should look good. And also a little something on the side. Whenever you make your fireplace, I like to add a little shelf like you see up there. And I usually tend to add in some designs like candles or even a chest or something up there could look nice. As for the first floor, that's pretty much all it has to offer, although I did notice when building the second floor itself that if you try and use half slabs all the way over instead of adding in these upside down stairs on the other end, it does look a bit strange, sort of like it doesn't have enough support, so that's kind of the main reason why I chose to use these instead. But anyways, moving upstairs, you'll see there's just one bed up here, and I just kind of chose to make it seem as if only one person was living in this house. That's why there's no other little rooms or even an attic where maybe the kids' beds would be stored. I guess you could, because there is enough room, so if you really wanted to make it so more people could live here, or even just use this as an extra storage space, like I said, I'm sure it's possible. But anyways, down here, I tried to make it look a little bit more private by adding in this curtain. And if you want a replacement to this, I'd say maybe add some iron bars up top to kind of make it look like they're what's holding the curtain up. And then, I'm not sure how great it would look, but you could even try using some wool for the curtain itself. And if that doesn't turn out, I'd just say leave it open. It shouldn't look that bad. For the bedroom though, I did try a couple new things, or I guess just one, and that was adding a table behind the bed. It's definitely not a necessity, but I think it adds a nice touch, especially with the window there. And as you can see, whoever's living here has a nice big chest to store most of his valuables, and also a nice desk off to the left-hand side where he could do some writing to possible family or just take notes down for different business purposes. But anyways, guys, that should pretty much be it. Like I said, if there's a block that's not available to you in default, please feel free to ask me, and I'll try and come up with a nice replacement. Now, as for the world itself and it getting corrupted, I'm pretty sure it's because the map I'm using is made for 1.10, and since I'm using the Conquest mod, I've got to play it in 1.9, so that could be one of the major problems. But I was talking to the map maker, and it sounds like he's going to be able to make a version compatible with 1.9, so I've got my hopes up. But in the case that that doesn't happen, I guess we'll have to figure out some kind of alternative. But just a fair warning, depending on if this map gets corrupted again, or if the new version doesn't get made, or just takes a while, there could be a little bit of a delay on this series, which would be pretty damn lame. And if it takes too long, I guess we'll just go ahead and switch maps so we can really get this series going again. But enough of me rambling on about that. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully, if you stuck around till this long, you did enjoy the build. I know the inside in particular was rather small and didn't have a whole lot, but sometimes those do tend to be the most tricky interiors to kind of fill in. So like I said, hopefully this video helped you out at least a little bit, or maybe gave you some inspiration, who knows. If not, make sure and let me know what you thought in the comments, and as always, I will see you in the next one.